to the last drop. Hello, I'm Anne. Welcome to my channel. We are in Belgium, so beer is important. Welcome. I've got 3 books for you. Hope you like them. First is a book by Claudio Morandini, Snow Dog Foot, translated by J. Ockenden. Yep, Ockenden. I've seen that name more than once, so it must be a very good translator. So it's about a man, an older man, I think in his 70s, and his name is Adelmo Farandola. Adelmo Farandola, and he lives somewhere in the mountains, I think somewhere up north, and he lives there all alone. And when it's winter time, he's completely closed off from the world, so he can't go to the village and buy groceries, but he's okay with that. And the winter is coming back again, and he goes to the village to buy half what's in that little village store, and then he takes it up to his little cabin in the mountains. And then it starts snowing and he's all alone, and but there's an old dog, and the old dog is not his, but it chose him, it chose Adelmo. And he starts talking to the dog, although he hates dogs, he claims. And but slowly a relationship develops between the two. And then there's an how do you call it, sort of a ranger, a park ranger, who is relatively new to the area, and he starts asking difficult questions. Why do you live here? You know you can't leave a dog here without a leash. Stuff like that. He really gets on his nerve, on Adelmo's nerve, because Adelmo only wants one thing, and that's to be alone. And then the story evolves, and you see the relationship with the dog, and how they start to talk to each other, and even the dog talks back. And more you start to realize that it's really difficult to see if we are reading a real story, or is it madness that is the old man is he slowly going insane? And that's the gist of the story. For the rest, you have to really read it for yourself. It's not plot driven. There's a little bit of a plot, but not much. It's very character driven. It's really well done. You can smell the man, you can see the dog, you can taste the food, you can imagine the annoying park ranger. So it's really good, and more you start to realize that whatever happens there is disturbing and horrible, but not terrible. Well, it's horrible because you know what happens. In a sense, it's not horror. It's not like somebody gets killed or something. Maybe I'm telling too much here, but it's not a horror story. Let me say that. And it's painful. It's so. It's about a man who loses his grip on reality because he's so much alone, and because nobody talks back to him. It's just his mind, and you know, with your thoughts, you can't always believe what you think. And if nobody says, well, that's not right, no, come on, you're overreacting or whatever. Nobody helps him in the sense that they try to reframe his point of view, or so it's really painful. And the way he has to stay for 6 months in that cabin alone with that dog, and just at the beginning he can eat well, but at the end it's always scraps and molded stuff, and it's not healthy. He's not really taking care of himself. So it's really beautiful. It's excruciating. It's very light-heartedly written. It's very, the prose is very light and very light as snow. You know, it walks over the snow. You know, it doesn't gets into the. It's a novel with that is written in a very poetic way, but it flirts with reality and madness. That's how I can put it. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's you read it in one evening, in one sitting, and 125 pages. So yeah, you won't regret it. It's blew my mind. It really did. It's one of the best reads of this year already. So yeah, that's number 1.
Ogenblik. Het spijt me dat...
What the heck is this? Okay. So, that was Snow Dog Foot by Claudio Morandini, translated by J. Ockenden. Then, I've read The Department of Speculation by Jenny Offill. I've read it in Dutch, but I don't have the copy here. Oh yeah, here. It's the same cover, but I'll put in Dutch it's called Afdeling Ongewisse Zaken, Department of Speculation. I really enjoyed this. It's really a brand new take on a novel. It's the main character is named the wife, and she talks about her marriage and kids, but it's written in such form that it's not a fluent text. It's more like a notebook you read, and it's a short notations, short, quick, how you call it, blurbs of text, and actually you have to form the story. The story gets into your head and you fill in the blanks actually, and I really like that. It's funny, but it's also full of rage in a way, and full of emotions in a way that I've never experienced before. It's very well written, and there's so many sentences you want to underline and you want to remember. There's so many beautiful sentences, so many beautiful phrases, so many beautiful short quotes, and I think you can use every sentence for something else. You know, it's you could use every sentence as a sort of quote that you would put at the front of a new novel. That's how good this book is. I can't really tell you about the story because it's just her life as the wife and the impressions and the experiences she has. So it's really difficult to grasp the story in the sense that you can explain it. But on the other hand, it's so mind-blowing. I don't have another word for it. It is so... yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Department of Speculation by Jenny Offill. Read it. It's what is it? 180 pages. There aren't many writers who can write like this. Jenny Offill, you're a genius. The third book that I want to talk about is a non-fiction book. It's The Madhouse at the End of the Earth, the Belgica's Journey into the Dark Antarctic Night by Julian Sancton. It's madness, pure madness. It's about, well, we're 1897 and there's a Belgian guy who lived half an hour from here. His name was Adrien de Gerlache. He was 31 and he always wanted to be an explorer. He wanted to make history. So he travels up north and buys somewhere in Norway or Sweden, a boat, a ship, to travel all the way down to Antarctica. And he calls his ship the Belgica because he wanted to have money from the newly formed Belgian state. Well, it existed only 50 years, but we needed a little bit of glory. And he became the commander of that ship, and he wants to explore Antarctica, and he was set on a 3-year mission. So he was planning on being back within 3 years. But on his journey already towards Antarctica in the south of in the South Americas, he already has a lot of trouble because half of his crew is Belgian, but Belgians aren't really sailors. We're not like the Dutch. We have a little fleet of fishermen, but that's about it. We are not explorers in the sense that you have all those famous explorers like the Magellan and Columbus with his dog and his cigar. No. So we don't have that kind of tradition. So he hires a certain Frederick Cook, well known in the States, and an even better well known but a very young Edmundson. So the famous explorer Edmundson. And so they travel down, and so with the problems with the Belgians, they start drinking too much, and that's typical Belgian. We don't take orders very well. We say yes, but we don't do anything. Actually, we don't really listen. We don't like to listen. But in such kind of expedition, we really have to listen because it's otherwise it changes a lot your life, or you will be dead if you don't. And they have also huge problems with a mechanic who doesn't really know how the ship works. So there are a few challenges. So, but anyway, they sail off and they reach Antarctica. But the winter is setting in really early, much earlier than foreseen. And they arrived also a little bit late, and the decision is for the Garlache to decide, well, should we stay or should we go? And because if they stay and they stay for another week, the risk is that they will be frozen in. And but he decides to go for the glory and not for his own life and the life of his men. So they stay, and of course they freeze in. They are blocked for months and months and months, and in the deep darkness, and it drives many people insane. It also helps Frederick Cook to develop a couple of strange remedies against scurvy, which really help. And for people like Amundsen, he really comes to life in that environment. The harder and the harsher it is, the more he enjoys himself. And but Adrien de Garlache, who is only 31, is way too young to lead a ship like that in such a unknown territory and very hostile territory. And it's not like they can search for game or something. There's nothing, there are penguins, penguins. And that's it. So Amundsen follows the advice of Cook, and he eats raw penguin, and he really doesn't suffer from scurvy at all. And some of the men don't want to eat penguin, and they cook it, or they eat penguin but they want to cook it, not to eat it raw. And they all suffer from scurvy and other illnesses, and especially mental illnesses. And a couple of them really go insane. They go crazy, and they can't cope with the solitude and knowing that you are all alone in the world. Is so that absolutely nobody is within a day's distance. It's must be horrible to. I can't imagine. I can imagine that somebody who lives in the outback of Australia or in the central states of the USA or even Canada, that you have to drive 1 or 2 hours by car to get to your next door neighbor. Here in Belgium, if you drive 2 hours, you're in another country. We don't have that. That doesn't exist. It's a densely populated country, so you can't drive half an hour without meeting anyone. That's impossible. So even for the Garlache, it must have been really weird to be in an environment where there are only very, very, very few people, because he was from Hasselt, which is also quite heavily populated. So yeah, it's the book is incredibly well written. It reads like a novel. It reads like it reads like a thriller, like a really good written thriller. I really recommend it, that you read it. It's the start of Frederick Cook's career. It's the start of Amundsen's career. It's the end of the Garlache's career. And it's actually, I was surprised. I never heard of this expedition. It's a very early one, and yeah, it's pure madness, and people became insane, some of them, and the real explorers, they thrive, and yeah, it's beautiful to see and to read, and extremely interesting. So yeah, that's it. That was my day. I hope you like it. I hope you will read some of it, and I wish you all the best. Bye bye.